While I try and skip most of the pleasantries, I do wish you all a belated Merry Christmas. We are still in the holiday kind of mood. I know. I have gone back to work today, but it is nice to have had a few days off, and I hope you are enjoying it wherever you are. Today, quick update. I've had a few viewers ask for an update. I do have an article to bring up to your attention. It is about real estate, and then a video. Very interesting views of my favorite economist, Martin Armstrong. And yes, whilst some of his predictions may have not, or they don't seem to be coming true fast enough kind of thing, he has been correct in many, many areas. So this article, a viewer or reader of the armstrongeconomics.com/blog, BRICS, real estate and pensions. Now, we don't need to concern ourselves with BRICS too much. This reader is from Brazil, but he asks a very long question. In any case, he says in Brazil, I see Brazil obsessed with lowering interest rates more and more on the grounds that it will stimulate the economy. I found that this drop in rates boosted real estate sales. Now, just my comment, intermediary comment, is that you can put any country in place of Brazil, and that will be true. I see that Australia is obsessed with lowering the interest rates more and more on the grounds that it will stimulate the economy. Right? I found that this drop in real estate boosted real estate sales. Australia, same thing. Certainly, capital is seeing better rates of return in real estate than in the bank. Exactly the same thing that I've been speaking to people, and I can see people saying, look, I put it in the bank, and even the high interest paying online account, once I jumped through the hoops to get that interest rate by using the card and scanning and doing the cash, the wireless payment type thing, using NFC, or adding $250 a month or $1,000 a month and not redrawing any money. After that, you get maybe 2%, right? So, and you think, well, real estate seems to be going up, which is very, very arguable at the moment. I mean, today is 27th of December. We have very different numbers coming from different organizations, and I'm talking APRA, that is being fed data from who knows where, ABS, and then we got the favorite CoreLogic, and then we got the REA, which is the owners of realestate.com.au. They are not seeing this increase, but they're kind of forced to not really publicize it so much. And then you get SQM Research, yet another set of data, SQM, right? So this is a valid question. You say, hey, I mean, this is why the real estate is going up, because there's not much else that it seems like you can put money at the moment. All right, so we're going to go back to, eventually we're going to talk about the paradox of the bell curve, but more importantly, I want to go to the section where Martin talks about real estate. So this is very telling. Real estate is a leveraged market in many economies, Australian economy. Each market will depend upon what extent the real estate is leveraged. The problem is that real estate has this dependency upon bank lending. If banks refuse to lend long term, the real estate collapses to the degree of leverage, right? So now, what is the degree of leverage at the moment for Australian housing at the very end of 2019? Now, I don't know how this is calculated. We know that most people having brand new mortgages are 90%, 80%, 70% LV, loan to value ratio type thing. But we have to also think of the people that are halfway through paying off their mortgages. So say they're 50%, or they just only got 40 or 30 or 20% left, and then we have to think about people who have paid it off. So I don't know what the average is. Let's say I really think that calculating and incorporating and factoring in the people that have actually paid off their mortgages compared to the people that have just got the mortgages may give us a number of 40-50% is leverage, say half. Most importantly, that people who own properties outright by now are not going to be looking to sell when the interest, not if, but when the interest rates go up. So it'll be more important what people with large mortgages do as opposed to people who have paid it off and don't really care whether on paper their house is worth $1.5 million or $800,000. Obviously, they don't like it to be worth half than what it was once upon a time, but they're not going to panic, they're not going to sell, they're not going to do anything irrational. People with big mortgages will have to do that, and they'll have no option because the banks will be knocking on their doors. So once again, if banks refuse to lend long term, then the real estate collapses to the degree of leverage. So if we said that the average is 40 to 50%, then that's where my still prediction comes into play, saying 40%. And 40% will, by the way, only bring us back to the amount of the long-term average, which we know that when things go up, they overshoot. When things go down, they undershoot type thing, meaning that 40% will just bring us back to where it should be, but it never stops there. It drops further, drops to the floor. So, 70, 80%, I don't know, but I'll stick with 40 because I know with 40, I'll probably be correct. Then Martin goes on to say, the average market remains well below the 2007 high. The high-end market rallied in particular areas where foreign capital was moving in to escape places elsewhere. China. So you saw new highs in Vancouver, Miami, New York, LA, and London, just to mention a few. Again, my comment here is that notice how Sydney and Melbourne apparently, according to some CoreLogic, is coming back up. Well, it has not reached the previous highs. It's actually still lagging behind July 2017 numbers. So just saying. So continuing on. This was not the trend outside of those cities in the regional markets. Exactly the same as in Australia. Sydney and Melbourne are booming. Brisbane is kind of just going sideways. Everything else is really not doing well at all. Canberra, sure, government money, and we had Hobart kind of outperforming others because it seemed cheap compared to others, but it's not doing that any much longer. So to continue, once again, do not confuse the regional centers with the targets of foreign capital high-end sectors. So don't confuse the regional markets that we know have not gone nowhere to Sydney and Melbourne, where the rich overseas quote-unquote investors are parking their money. Continuing. Also, you better understand the leverage. The critical factor is that when confidence in the long term collapses, bank will not lend long term. So to sell a place will require a cash buyer. I just had a friend who bought a place that had been sold for $7 million US, I think, in 2007, which he bought at auction for 2.6 million because there were no buyers in a regional market. And let me tell you something, there will be some of those expensive coastal properties along, say, eastern coast, not Eastern Australian coast here, not really Sydney, but let's say halfway up the New South Wales coast, and others that where people have just gone berserk and paid millions and millions of dollars because of a beautiful view and a big house and so on. But if that person had to sell now, I think they would see a drop because the heat in the market is just not there, including the let's just call it Chinese money coming in. So Martin says, I just had a friend who bought a place that had been sold for $7 million in 2007, which he bought at auction for 2.6 million because there were no buyers in a regional market. I'll read you another quick last paragraph of this article is that the attempts of Brazil, now you can say attempts of insert the country name, Australia, in this case of Brazil, to reform are in line with economic confidence model turn on January 18, 2020. The next cycle should be one where commodities begin to rise mainly between 2022 and 2024. That's a bit of a hint as to what he sees next going up. So instead of quote unquote investing in real estate moving forward, I will be looking to pick stocks in the Australian share market because it's just the easiest to do it here, and investing that way instead of paying 3.5 or 4% stamp duty just to be allowed to park my money into real estate, which is looking shaky. Needless to say, I'm going to paste the link in the description below so you can read the whole article. It touches on many points there, which is why reading his blog is just so enlightening. It's not funny. You turn off the TV. If you don't do anything else, or if you just want to do one thing, read his blog. There is, however, a clip of an interview he gave. So I'm going to play part of it, and obviously I'll paste the link in the description. He talks about, surprise, surprise, commodities, and he touches on the real estate.
What about real estate in that scenario, or in the scenario? I mean, real estate does well when inflation returns, usually, especially when confidence out of paper assets diminishes.
The biggest problem with real estate is its leverage. Coming out of the Great Depression, that's when they created the 30-year mortgages and stuff like this. Mortgages before then were not long-term. They were 5 years at a clip. And you could renew it, but that was it. So when FDR created this 30-year mortgage nonsense, then you leverage the entire market on it. So it's kind of like it's addicted to cocaine or something, and now you're going to have to wean it off. So the problem with real estate is once the banks stop lending, they just cut it off dramatically. That's it. There'll be zero.
Oh, and almost forgot, paradox of the bell curve. There's no secret that Martin Armstrong thinks that the interest rate long term will come back up, but this is how it thinks it's going to happen. So paradox of the bell curve is that rising interest rates will support a currency initially, provided confidence in the government exists. However, when confidence in government collapses, then rates will rise because of the lack of confidence and credit worthiness. So he's got this bell curve. So what he's saying is that the confidence is okay, and then when the confidence turns, so interest rates, when confidence collapses, starting from there, interest rates begin to rise exponentially. So that's it for now. Once again, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year coming up. Today is 27th of December 2019. Let's talk again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.